everybody, my name's Camo and welcome to the second devlog here of my newest indie game venture. Now, I guess this could technically be the first one because in the last video we didn't actually do anything, I just went over what the game was actually going to be about. And speaking of what the game is about, in case you missed the last video, what I'm doing here is building a 2D super minimalist farming game where you've got to use these magical, mystical plants and genetically breed them together to create all kinds of new species and build up an agricultural empire. Or at least that's the plan. But what have I done so far in this game? Because as you can see, there has been a little bit of progress made as I've been working on it for about 2 weeks now. And if I hop over here into Unity, I can actually show you what I've done. Here in the game view, you can see that I've got a super simple camera movement set up with a little scrolling mechanism to zoom in and out and some parallax in the background. Down at the bottom here, all this terrain has been procedurally generated using a tile map system with some grass here on top. And you can also see I've got some simple UI set up, there's nothing linked to that one, and some in-game UI here that allows you to actually edit stuff. So I can delete tiles here and there, and you can see when I'm deleting stuff at the bottom, it's actually creating big holes on the top, because when you delete something like that, it'll just delete the one thing, or the one tile rather, but when there's stuff on top of it that would actually be supported by it, it's going to delete everything. And of course, it fills in the grass nicely to actually match the terrain. And on top of deleting tiles, you can also place your own tiles. So if I switch to build mode here, I can place all kinds of new things. And there's some very simple sound effects, given these will probably change sometime very soon in the future, because it's just all temporary stuff for now. And you can also make larger tiles. So if I switch to a big tile here, which there's no UI to actually switch stuff yet, I'm just pressing number keys that I've linked them to. If I try clicking around here, nothing will happen. If I try clicking here, where it's not on solid ground, nothing will happen. And you can see that it intersects and goes red, because you can't place stuff where there's already tiles. But if there's a nice open area like this, where it's got full ground access, you can place a new tile, and it fills in the grass accordingly. And I can keep placing these infinitely, because, well, there's no actual gameplay yet. But, hopefully, we're going to change that very soon. But first things first, we got to get some better audio implemented in here. Because at the moment, the audio manager is looking a little bit bleak. First thing we're going to do is go through and make a better system for actually getting the audio so we can edit the volume dynamically and be able to play different sound effects at different times and actually have them integrate into the game properly. And I'd also like to make a little system for playing background music at a random interval, if possible. But we'll see what we can actually do. Let's get to it. And after just a few minutes of programming, we now have a really good system for playing sound effects whenever we want and having background music play constantly. Looking over here in Unity, we can come over to our scriptable object area where we can actually create a new audio type, and let's just call it music, spelled wrong, because I cannot type tonight. We can set it to any type we want, including unused if we don't actually want to be using it in the game at the moment and just have it for testing stuff. But this thing here will be music, and we'll call this, how about just a song? Just song. And volume, let's make it 1.5 times volume, and give it the audio clip of random beat, the random song we just put in. And of course we could put more song types, or sorry, more audio clip types in here if we wanted to be able to choose a random audio clip based on like the thing that happened. Sometimes it's good to have, so I just implemented it in there. Coming over into the game, we can see that our... What? As I said, coming back into the game, we have a wonderful song playing in the background, and also that is extremely loud, so make sure to turn that down in post-processing. But, yeah, super simple music that, in theory, should continuously play. And we're not going to test that because code always works, right? Yeah, no need to test that. Wow, that is very loud. But now I've been at it for a while now, so I think I'm going to take a break for a little while and go take a walk down by the woods and enjoy the freshly fallen snow. And with the audio manager done, the next thing on our to-do list is to design the system for procedurally generating plants. And this is going to be a bit of a tricky one and a really important aspect to get right, because the plant growing system is a major part of the game and will really determine a lot for future gameplay. So to make sure we get this right, let's head over to the chalkboard and plan it out. Over the past few days, I've spent quite a bit of time trying to theorize a way to simply generate plants, and I want to be able to generate basically any kind of plant in any form using a relatively simple algorithm. And you can see how this gets pretty complex because there's so many different types of trees. Like say these are all just the bases. These can be implemented into any kind of thing with giving it, say, mushroom spores or flowers or abstract shapes or little berries hanging down. All kinds of things need to be necessary. And it needs to be able to be tracked of its states because these plants need to be turned into resources later on in the game. And it also has to go through a growth cycle, so it ends up being a pretty complicated problem pretty quickly. But I think I've figured out a way to do it quite simply. So I ramble on for quite a while about making trees, but to summarize it all, you put a stick in the ground, put some more sticks on top of it as branches, add some leaves on top of that, and then add some little features on top of those leaves like berries or hanging fruits or something to keep the tree interesting. And this shouldn't be the most difficult thing to implement into code, but knowing myself, I'm going to make it way harder than it has to be. But either way, let's get to it. And after spending a little while implementing this system, I think I've now got a pretty decent version of it up and running. These trees here were naturally generated by the new tree generator that I've made, and you can see I've got a couple of basic shapes just for the branches and some basic leaf shapes. This one here is like the triangle tree and the colors added to it, and then these little blobby pink trees growing some sort of like mystical berry. I'm not really sure. And then of course a little mushroom down here. Now, this system can definitely be improved on massively in future episodes. I really don't like the way either of these look, but it does function and it's a good proof of concept for the time being. In the future episodes, hopefully, we can actually make this system a lot nicer and add some quite nice details and complexity to these trees that'll keep the game interesting. But anyway, all that stuff can be for the future episodes. This video is already dragging on for a lot longer than it should be, so gotta save some stuff for later. So thank you ever so much for watching, and if you did like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you really liked it, maybe even consider subscribing to support the channel. But anyway guys, this has been Camo, and I'll see you in the next devlog.